Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Mocktor Samicus Matthews show. I say Mocktor because I'm not a doctor. I'm a Mocktor, but I've seen some things and I studied at Keep It Real University. Okay, let's go. Today we're talking about what we can do to keep our kids from doubting themselves and how doing so sets them up for their future. So what do you think, guys? What is it that we can do to keep our kids from doubting themselves? First of all, what do I mean by this? You ever have a parent who they're just negative about everything? You know, anytime you bring something to your dad or your mom and you say, hey, I got this idea. This is something that I want to do. And they start telling you everything that's going to go wrong with it, or it's not what you wanted them to do. So you tell them that they can't do it. That's what I'm talking about. Now, what does that do to them? Okay, that causes them to doubt themselves, right? Because they come home and they have this great idea, right? And 99% of the time it's going to fail, right? But that failure is either going to terrify them based on your response, or is going to keep them trying things that you want them to fail as many times as they can so that they don't get afraid of failure. Because I've seen it happen. You know, and that is the last thing we want for these kids. Because I'm going to tell you what's going on right now with these young people. These young people are figuring out how to make millions because they have this free thinking. They're on the internet, they're doing all this stuff, and they're thinking outside the box, and they're becoming successful at it in a world where you've got the people that are going to be working at the gas station, and then you've got the people that are going to be entrepreneurs investing their money in all this other kind of crazy stuff. That takes failure. That takes competence in thinking outside of the box. And if we don't set our kids up for that, we're going to have some kids that aren't going to be living to their full potential. And I don't want that on me. All right, so let's talk about it. Negativity, right? Little Jimmy comes home and, you know, his friend's dad let him build a fort in the backyard, right? And his dad gave him all the tools and he supported it, right? Little Jimmy goes home and he supported it. The dad supported it for little Jimmy, right? And now your son comes home, right? And he tells you all about little Jimmy and how dad, you know, they have a big tree and Jimmy's dad went and got lumber and nails and you know, and he's relating how this dad got behind the idea and said, yeah, son, sure, go ahead and try, right? And he's relating this experience to you and he's so excited. And then you're like, we're not doing all that. You don't know how to build a fort. You're too small. You can get hurt. It costs a lot of money. You know, and every time you say something, what's happening to that kid? They're shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller. And they just can't believe the response you're having, because when Jimmy told the story, it was a totally different experience. So what are we going to do about that? Well, for one thing, we got to stop saying no to everything. I know parents who say no to everything. Their kids want to bake cookies. The parents say no because they don't want them to make a mess. You know, they want to go outside and play. The parents say no because they don't want them to get dirty. You know, if you always say no, they're not going to grow. You got to let them figure things out. You got to let them fail. You got to let them tear up the kitchen as much as you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. I hated it. I hated it. But you gotta say yes. I'm gonna relate a story to you because my husband was raised this way. Anything he ever wanted to do was no. No, he can't. He didn't even get the sentence out of his mouth. No. And what happened with this channel, I am totally winging it here. I have some ideas. I don't have a good, protocol in place. I've already messed up and started 5 different YouTube accounts and totally screwed this thing up, right? I'm not good at this, I have something good to offer, but I'm not good at all the logistics. And I know that, right? So when I wanted to start this channel, I was in here in my office and I was quietly working on it because I didn't want anybody to know. And lo and behold, Mr. Negative walks in here, after I told him I needed some privacy. And he's looking through my window and he sees me taking a profile picture and he says, "Well, what are you doing?" And I gave him the dirtiest look. Why did I do that? I did that because I didn't want him to know what I was doing. I didn't want him to know what I was doing because I knew he was going to say, "Well, what are you doing that for?" And it takes a lot of work to do all that, and it's probably not going to take. When you're already got 10 things working against you, like I said, I got who I am as a person working for me, and I got the ideas. I'm not a techie person. I don't know how these platforms work. I don't know anything about editing. I'm making these videos raw. The only thing I'm really doing is pausing when I need to and then starting the video back up. But I don't know anything else. And I know that. But I believe in myself enough to try. Okay? If it doesn't go anywhere, if this thing flops and you guys hate it, then I'm, okay. But I tried. I know for sure it's not going to succeed if I don't even try. So later on that day, he's "Why'd you yell at me?" And I said, "Because I didn't want you to know what I was doing, because I didn't want to hear one negative word out of your mouth, because I'm already at a disadvantage because I don't know these platforms the way everyone else does. And I don't know how to get my content out there. And I don't know, So that's what happens as parents when our kids come to us and we poop on their little idea. They don't want to come back to us. They don't want to learn how to do anything anymore. It breaks their spirit each time we do it until they get to the point where they don't have any aspirations anymore. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that stunts my kids so much that they don't want to dream. We don't want to tell our kids everything that's going to go wrong. We want them to stumble and fall and figure it out, because that's what life is. You put them in a box and you limit them so much when you don't let them explore things. So let's talk about why we do that as parents. One reason is just that's what your example was at home. The other thing is, fear of them failing and the reflection that it's going to have, or maybe you're worried that they're going to feel bad about themselves because they failed and it didn't go like they thought. So how can we how can we figure that out, right? So say our children, say your kid comes home and Jimmy's parent let him do it, and then so he said, well, I'm going to let you do it. And it totally goes wrong. Totally goes wrong. Your reaction is everything. Your reaction is going to decide for them how they feel about the failure. You know, if you go on and on about how you spent $100 on lumber, or how he banged his finger with the hammer and now he's injured, and I never should have let you, and da 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 da, that is going to matter when it comes to how he looks at failure. So we have to be very, very careful about it, because I'll tell you, I would love it if I could say to my husband, or I'm starting this YouTube channel about family and relationships and parenting, you know, and I don't know what I'm doing, and it's probably going to go nowhere, but I'm going to try. And I would love to hear him say, that's really great. I think you should try it. See what happens. You never know. It might go great. You know, you want to have somebody that you can bring stuff like that to. You want to be able to, and your kids crave that too. They have dreams. They have far-fetched ideas, because kids do. The younger you are, the more far-fetched and ridiculous our dreams are, right? And then we get older, and then the dreams are less, and reality starts kicking in. And that's because people keep kicking us along the way, saying, we're not gonna, don't do that, do this, right? And the other thing is too, that kind of goes in line with this, is when our kids want to do something, say they like baseball, but you like football, okay? And you don't want them to play, or you like whatever, I think there's soccer and baseball or something. One of the two seasons bump into each other, and you can't play one and the other at the same time without doing two sports at the same time. I think it's, heck, I don't know. But anyway, you know, my husband was a real soccer guy, okay? And just because you love something for you, you know, you want little Jennifer to be a ballerina and she's into monster trucks. We can't break their dreams because we have dreams for them, because we're parents, but this is their life, you know. And granted, there's things that we have to do. We've got to, you know, we have to say no to certain things. We have to discipline. We have to redirect. We have to do all this, you know. We're moving our arms, I feel like, at the speed of light all day long when we've got the kids at home. And that is our responsibility. But when it comes to things that we can let them choose for themselves, that doesn't impact their life or death, you know, let them do it. Let them do it. Let them be who they are. Let them grow. Again, if you always say no, they are not going to grow. We can't be negative with our children over everything that they want to try. We have to let them fail. We don't, you know, we guide them, but we don't pound them with all the negative things that can go wrong with their little project, to the point where we've now not made it fun. Okay? So the next time the kids come to you and they want to do something that's, you know, questionable but safe, you know, let them do it. Let them grow. Let them go out there and learn how to navigate through the world an orthodox way, because that's the way the world is going. These young kids have ideas that we don't know how to teach them. Let them figure all that stuff out. Say yes as much as you can. That's the end of the show today. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to talk about on the show next time. And I'll see you soon.